All right, Scott, thank you very much. Today's game being broadcast in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. 111th all-time meeting as the San Diego Chargers winning the toss, they defer, and so the Chiefs will have the football to start. Josh Lambo, the rookie kicker, on to boot it away, and Crenshaw native DeAnthony Thomas, about 2 hours south from where he grew up here in Southern California, and he will watch that sail through the back of the end zone as Kansas City will have it from the 20 to begin. And what a stretch it has been for Alex Smith. Received 228 consecutive pass attempts without an interception. It has been months since that Week 3 pick, literally.
Well, he has never been one to throw a lot of interceptions, and so he did go through a bad streak. But every single player for the Kansas City Chiefs, they credit their head coach, Andy Reid, for keeping this team together, for them bouncing back from the 5-game losing streak to go on to win 3 in a row. And Andy Reid is one of the better coaches in the National Football League. He'll put together a game plan on this offense that will allow Alex Smith to be at his best.
Chiefs went to Denver, beat the Broncos in that ugly performance by Peyton Manning last Sunday, 29-13. First and 10 pass is caught by the tight end Travis Kelce, his 46th reception of the season, and he's run out of bounds after a pickup of 3. Starters, this offensive front that has had to move some people around. Jeff Allen today makes the start at one of the guard positions, so Ja Reed takes his old spot at right tackle. And one of the newest sensations in the NFL, Charcandrick West, 5th consecutive start. Boy, they were really down after losing Jamal Charles midway the season with the ACL, but West has been a revelation for the Chiefs. High snap fielded by Smith, fakes the little screen, they go end around, it's DeAnthony Thomas. A little trickeration as he gets close to the 30, brought down after a pickup of 7, and right at that first down marker.
Anytime you see DeAnthony Thomas, who appears to be shaken up on the play, anytime you see him lined up tight to the formation, he's going to come back around on that reverse. They'll even do a fake reverse and try to get the defense going after him and then allow Charcandrick West to hit it to the other side. You can see he took a shot right there. Well, DeAnthony Thomas is not a big guy, but they'll get him to run the football on the edges of the defense, try to avoid the kind of punishment you just saw.
That was Jaleel Adai who put a lick on him at the end of that play. Enough for the first down for the Chiefs as they move the chains. See what they've done with the rush game, especially here in San Diego, as this long-standing rivalry writes its latest chapter. First and 10, Smith over the middle, right up the seam, is caught. Not much happening after the catch. Jason Avant is brought down after a pickup of 6. Well, John Pagano's Chargers defense has struggled all season. Corey Legion, a question mark today with that mid-foot sprain sustained Week 9 here against the Bears. Manti Te'o is back healthy, out the last 4 games with an ankle injury. And in the secondary, this is a unit that has been banged up as well. Brandon Flowers taking on his old team, a longtime member of the Chiefs, and a former second-round pick of Kansas City back in the day. On 2nd and 4, this is West. Little burst, and he's brought down. Manti Te'o. There has been a guy dealing with durability issues over his first couple of seasons.
Well, his ability to shoot the gap and read this play, it's that tackle right there. Even though his head was not in front of the strong legs and lower body of Charcandrick West, Manti Te'o strong enough to bring him down. He continues to get better. He can stay healthy and stay on the field. He makes him a better defense here in San Diego.
Alex Smith is going to be forced to burn a timeout, so something you didn't like. And very early in this game, Kansas City will take its first timeout. Early stages on CBS.
Welcome back to San Diego. Watch when Jason Avant goes in motion right here. Now, they'll motion with him, but the real fear is that once these guys move into that A-gap, Alex Smith knows he's going to get a double-A blitz, and he doesn't have enough time to check out of it. They're forced to burn the timeout.
On 3rd and 4, Smith slings it first down. Kelce and Moore tripped up right at midfield. A pickup of 13 yards. Te'o able to bring him to the turf. Second catch for Kelce.
Well, we already know Alex Smith is going to throw it A lot. Very short, very quick, getting the balls out of his hand all day long. And it's really about these short, quick passing games that really keeps the defense off balance, allows them to get the ball into the hand of his receivers so they can create yards after the catch.
Kelce only one touchdown catch over the last 8 weeks, but has seen his production right around where you'd expect it at this stage. That's West. Charcandrick West, the guy who about a month ago was completely anonymous to most NFL fans. Undrafted. What a path he's had from undrafted to practice squad Solomon to now suddenly their top flight running back with Charles on the shelf.
Yeah, and Andy Reid said that this guy's got a certain energy about him. He's always smiling, always in a good mood. Doesn't seem to be overwhelmed about being on the NFL stage, even though he's replaced one of the best running backs in Jamal Charles in the National Football League.
Second and 4, quick screen pass to the near side. That's Albert Wilson, who is brought down right after the catch. Just barely able to get to the line of scrimmage as Kansas City will face a third down.
This is what John Picano wants from this defense. Watch how many blue jerseys get to Wilson on this play. Look at all the swarming jerseys, the speed and quickness and tenacity and way that they're playing defense. Good leverage, good pursuit angles. That's how you create turnovers, something this defense needs to see more of.
Wilson actually loses a yard officially, so 3rd and 5 for the Chiefs on their 8th play of the drive. Smith from the gun, puts some air under it, and incomplete, intended for Jeremy Maclin. A little bit too much underneath, and on 4th down, the Chiefs will punt.
Alex Smith told us that he's going to give Jeremy Maclin more opportunities, one-on-one coverage. He's got to be able to win because he had Eric Weddle on him one-on-one, and Weddle's not used to covering against receivers down the field one-on-one with no help. I think if you're the Chiefs, you've got to win in that situation.
So here's Justin Colquitt, the 11th-year punter, one of the best in the NFL, placing these punts inside the 20. In fact, he's got the most in Chiefs history. He'll tack on today as Javonte Herndon muffed it for a moment. 39-yard, perfectly placed punt from Colquitt. Well, so many great moments in this rivalry that dates back to 1960 when the Chiefs were the Dallas Texans and these Chargers were playing up in L.A. As you see Phillip Rivers onto the field, leads the league in both completions and attempts. Even with this team struggling the way it has, Rivers has been playing at an MVP level. Chargers well rested after the bye. This is Melvin Gordon, a rookie out of Wisconsin, who is still trying to kick his rookie campaign into high gear. D'Anthony Thomas during the commercial had to jog into the locker room. We won't speculate. We'll get an update as quickly as we can, but he took that hard hit from Jaleel Adai on the 2nd play of the game.
Yeah, certainly. I think they're going to take a look at it. It's the concussion protocol where they have to take a look at him, and once he can pass, then they'll let him back on the field.
Here's Gordon again. Gordon, second stab at it. Josh Maga on the tackle, and a late marker comes in from behind the line of scrimmage.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Number 92 defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic. 1st down.
That's Dontari Poe on a penalty, and that'll give San Diego a little bit more breathing room. This has been an offensive line racked by injuries. DJ Fluker sustained a concussion actually in practice this week, a question mark. He is up surprisingly. And Antonio Gates, about a month removed from that MCL sprain in his knee, admittedly is still not at full strength, but will dress and play his 3rd straight game at the tight end.
Spiro, this offense, we talk about the offense going through their quarterback, Phillip Rivers. Look for him to work to Danny Woodhead and Antonio Gates. The majority of the passing combinations will come to their side.
On 1st and 10 after the penalty, this is Gordon. Churning his feet, crosses the 20. They'll make it 18-yard line, close to the 18 on that play. Dontari Poe headlines that defensive front. Slow start for him after missing all of camp with that herniated disc in his back. And Eric Berry had a chance to visit with Andy Reid yesterday. He told us that that game he played last week in Denver, the best that he has seen Berry in the time that he has had him last 2+ seasons in Kansas City. Saw Bob Sutton, Kansas City's defensive coordinator. This is 2nd and 7 Gordon kind of lunges forward, crosses the 20-yard line. And the tackle on the play by Margo.
So much of the talk in San Diego has been, okay, they're struggling to run the football. They rank 30th in the National Football League in terms of their rushing attack. Phillip Rivers is so good. Everyone here, Spiro, in San Diego is crying for more passing game, more Phillip Rivers. They rank first in the NFL when it comes to throwing the ball. And, the running game continues to struggle. Lean on your quarterback when the rest of the game is coming more difficult.
This is Rivers on 3rd and 5. Rivers under pressure, somehow escapes Poe. And a magic trick by Rivers, somehow able to evade the sack as he runs out of bounds, picks up a yard, still short as the Chargers will punt.
Dontari Poe doesn't expect to miss Phillip Rivers, but really it's about the coverage on the back end. Go ahead and roll it. And you'll see this secondary in Kansas City over the last 3 to 5 weeks has been so good. See, there's no one really open right there. He was trying to get it over the top of the screen, but there was really nowhere to go while Rivers was under pressure. It's going to be something they're going to have to deal with all day, is the pass rush of the Chiefs.
The Chiefs have told us that the Anthony Thomas is being looked at for a potential concussion in the locker room, and we'll get you an update again as quickly as we can, as that is fair caught by Macklin. 50-yard punt. And Alex Smith back onto the field next. Thursday, December the 3rd, your weekend starts here. Round 2 of this classic rivalry. Packers-Lions, Thursday Night Football, only on CBS and NFL Network. Lions going to Lambeau and stunning the Packers. And they'll look for more as they get together yet again. You'll see that Week 10 final just last week back inside Qualcomm Stadium. Spiro Dita, Solomon Wilcott, Scott Kaplan. When we pulled into the stadium a couple hours ago, parking lot filled as these fans enjoy summer-like conditions here in Southern California. Temperatures over 90 degrees on the field at kickoff. On 1st and 10, Smith in a scramble and pick up a couple of yards. What a wild roller coaster it's been, Solomon. You go back to Week 6 for Andy Reid and the Chiefs. They lost to Minnesota at that point, 5 straight losses. They were 1-5. Jamal Charles had blown his knee out the week before. Things looked so bleak, but Andy Reid told us yesterday his team never flinched.
Yeah, I think Alex Smith put it best in talking about his head coach, Andy Reid. He says some coaches are good with X's and O's. Others are just leaders of men. He said Andy Reid is both. He said he eliminates all dysfunction that allows us to go out and play well.
Smith on 2nd and 6 has West wide open. West breaking free, 40 inside the 35. West still going, and finally brought down by Brandon Flowers, the one-time Chief. West 48 yards on the catch and run at Kansas City in business.
Well, it looks like the linebacker, number 56, Butler, was supposed to have him in man-to-man coverage over to the right side of the screen, but he comes underneath, and now Butler's in chase. Weddle can't get off the block from Kelsey. And look at the downfield blocking. And West is so good in open space, such a powerful runner with such quickness. He's giving them the same production catching the ball out of the backfield as did Jamal Charles.
And with that pass, Alex Smith, 234 straight attempts without a pick. Longest stretch and a new Chiefs record. Smith runs out of bounds. And as we mentioned it at the top of the show, everyone talks about what Smith can't do. Doesn't take enough chances down the field. One thing you do get with Smith, low mistakes, low turnovers as he continues to roll.
If I was to use the baseball analogy, I would say, he's a singles hitter, right? He doesn't go for the home run. He is conservative. But I think he plays a complementary style at the quarterback position where he does rely on the running game. Relies on his receivers to create yards after the catch. And he relies on the defense, but he's got good mobility and can make plays.
On 2nd and 5, this is West. Nice little seam right over the center. And this consequently another homecoming for Alex Smith. Grew up in nearby La Mesa, former high school star at Helix. There's a lot of family and friends here. He's been coming to the stadium since he was a kid.
Yeah, and I want to go back to just talking about his style of play, Spiro. The more important thing I think you could do as a quarterback for your team is don't turn over the football. And if you don't turn it over, you give your team a great chance of winning each and every Sunday. The fact that they're on this 3-game winning streak, no turnovers by this offense over the last 3 weeks.
Unbelievable. Where do they go here on 3rd and 1? It's West. Needs the 10, and it appears as though the second-year man out of tiny Abilene Christian in Texas. Has enough. It'll be 1st and goal.
You know, Wes has a very strong lower body. This guy can really move the pile. Not a big guy, but watch him. You know, when he attacks the line of scrimmage, he's fearless. Look at him get going downhill. And he has a running back coach in Eric Bieniemy, who once played here for the San Diego Chargers, who was a tough little guy himself. He coaches toughness. Jamal Charles told him, he said, hey, he's going to coach you hard, but he told Wes, you just got to be able to take it.
West last week in that win had a rushing touchdown and a receiving score. That time buried by the combination of Denzel Perriman and Melvin Ingram as they lose a yard.
You know, Legion is a guy battling some injuries, but watch number 94. Watch him knife right through. Excuse me, that's 54. That's going to be Ingram there, linebacker coming off the edge. He was able to get penetration along with Perriman. Good play. Now 2nd and goal. This is where you can get some play action pass. Try to get the tight ends on the back end of that defense. And John Pagano, try to find the best matchup you can in a short passing game.
Travis Kelce, their tight end, is lined up in the slot towards the top of your screen. 2nd and goal. Smith slings it inside the 5. It's caught. That's Macklin. Brought down right around the 1.5-yard line. They pick up 9 yards, and that'll set up a 3rd and goal here with that clock continuing to run, approaching 3 minutes.
This offense, or Andy Reid and Alex Smith, 74% of their pass attempts is under 10 yards. That's the most in the National Football League. If I'm a secondary member and I'm playing against the Chiefs offense, I'm sitting on all short routes because that's what they do. It'll be interesting to see what they do here on 3rd and goal. They rather throw it than run it. Depends on the look they get from the defense as they appear to have their heavy run game personnel in the game.
Anthony Sherman lines up in front of West on 3rd and goal. Lead blocker, West goes airborne. No signal from the officials. West appears to be short. And it will be 4th and goal coming up.
I thought he stuck that ball out. Looked like he might have come close to penetrating the goal line. Camera's in a good spot to be able to see it. See, they pull guard tackle. Oh, no. He didn't get it. He stuck it out there just momentarily, but not enough to break the plane. And he was able to pull it back before one of the defenders could come and swat it out. Jimmy Wilson was there to get the stop.
You like this decision?
You know what? They're moving the ball on both drives. I like Andy Reid being aggressive here.
Reid's going to roll the dice. They go to the big fella, the tight end. It's Brian Parker mashing his way into the end zone. And Kansas City drives it down the field and gets onto the football field. It's Dontari Poe, I beg your pardon.
That big guy.
He fooled everyone.
He sure did. I remember him at the scouting combine. He outran some linebackers. He was so fast and quick. And look at the big guy lining up in there at fullback. Look at him going airborne, throwing himself around. What a play. That was, I think, incredible. The fact that the personnel allowed them to power it in, you know, that energizes your football team. If you're a defensive lineman, Andy Reid's going to use you on the goal line to score a touchdown, get you excited to come to the ballpark and play football.
Dontari Poe, Pro Bowl defensive tackle each of the last 2 years. Struggled for him with his health. We mentioned a herniated disc. Missed all the training camp. What a drive by Kansas City. There is a penalty marker thrown on the point after as Cairo Santos boots it through. First career touchdown for Dontari Poe.
Illegal use of hands to the face, number 87 offense. That 10-yard penalty to be enforced. Retry.
So Kelce, the man, penalized. And they will move back as they'll have to re-kick.
Right there. Yep. Hand to the face.
Kelce already a couple of catches. And this will turn out to be about a 42-yard attempt on a point after. Far from a sure thing here. But Santos still has some feel-good memories. We were here for that Week 7 game that he won on a last-second field goal last season. Officially, it will be a 43-yard extra point attempt. Santos has the distance, misses it wide right. So the penalty on Kelsey comes back to bite them, but Dontari Poe caps off that long drive with his first career score. Aerial coverage of today's game being provided by MetLife, high above Qualcomm Stadium, just outside downtown San Diego. Spiro Dita, Solomon Wilcots, Scott Kaplan, rest of our CBS crew. As the Chiefs missing the extra point. Penalty on Travis Kelsey moved it back, so 43-yard attempt by Santos wide right. And the score at 6-0 after Dontari Poe's first career touchdown.
Yeah, it was impressive. Great play design by Andy Reid. He always has his team well prepared.
Santos boots it away. Herndon will watch that sail through the back of the end zone. So Philip Rivers back onto the field. He and the Chargers down 6 on CBS. Tomorrow on The Late Show, it's Stephen Colbert. Catch Sylvester Stallone. And later this week, Justin Bieber plus Stephen's Thanksgiving celebration. Only CBS. Philip Rivers second in the league in passing yardage behind only Tom Brady. Over 3,000 yards till this point. And Rivers is buried by Josh Mauga.
This has got to be the major concern for this football team. Because can they block the pass rush of the Kansas City Chiefs? You're going to see Mauga come right here. Now he'll come around and loop. Look, they don't block him. And you've got to block him before you release to go out on that route. If you're number 88, David Johnson, pick up the blitzing linebacker and protect your quarterback. And if they can't protect Philip Rivers, it could be a long day for the Chargers.
5 sacks for this Kansas City defense. First sack of the season for Mauga over the middle. A quick catch. That's in the tight end, I beg your pardon, Ladarius Green. They pick up 9 yards with $1:20 to play in this first quarter. They'll be faced with a third down coming up.
But you can see what happened. They get the sack, and then, yeah, okay, if you're the Chargers, you can get a nice gain on second down, but you're still facing the 3rd and long, 3rd and 10. You know you're going to get this blitzing front from the Kansas City Chiefs, and then you got to block Tamba Hali and Justin Houston.
Green, by the way, was a question mark today. Was not expected to play with that ankle injury that forced him to miss the Chicago game back in Week 9. Rivers, here they come on 3rd and 10. Slinging the far side of the field. He's got his man, Dontrell Inman, wide open. 17 yards and a San Diego first down.
Excellent route by Inman. I'm impressed. He's working against the rookie Marcus Peters over on the left side. And you'll see he'll go out to his left. Can't see him in the screen there. But look, he's working Peters to that side of the field. And he lined up tight, giving himself a lot of room for Rivers to squeeze that ball in for a completion.
Inman, only his 13th catch of the season, suddenly thrust into a starting role with the injuries to both Malcolm Floyd and Keenan Allen, who of course is out for the season. Chargers keep it on the ground on 1st and 10 as Danny Woodhead picks up just a couple, and that'll likely take us to the end of the first quarter. Now, we were under the 3-minute mark before Philip Rivers had even attempted his first pass.
That is something. I mean, the pressure on Philip Rivers is going to be all day long. Can the offensive line keep him standing upright?
Well, despite all the struggles for the Chargers in the midst of this 5-game losing streak, Philip Rivers has been on a historic pace, as you can see.
Yeah, and he's had to get a lot done without some of the best players around him. He was out. Keenan Allen, one of the best receivers in the league, having a productive season before he was lost to that kidney injury. And then Malcolm Floyd is also out of today's game.
There was an outside chance and a hope that Floyd would be ready with that shoulder injury after the bye week, but not yet ready to make his return. On 2nd and 8, Rivers towards the far side of the field. It's caught by Inman, second catch. There's now suddenly a kid who's still unproven, a couple of years in, former collegiate player out of Virginia, suddenly into a big role.
Dontrell Inman, we watched him practice on Friday. I thought he looked good. Looks good even here today in the early going. He's getting open against this secondary for Kansas City that's been playing so well.
Here's Gordon on 3rd and short. They needed the 47. And this will depend on the spot.
Certainly needed a second effort, Spiro. He appeared to be stopped initially, bounced and spun around, and looked like he might have come close to getting it.
Mauga and Tamba Hali on the tackle.
Watch this play here. He come off that left side. See, stuff right there. Now watch the second effort here. And then he lunges forward. And right there, he's going to come really close. I thought he was stopped initially. The young rookie was able to get some extra yards after the contact was made.
Officials bring the chains crew out. And this one is going to be close as they get the first down by the nose of the football.
Oh, yeah. Very small nose, right? That was close. Now, Gordon, when we talked to his head coach, Mike McCoy, he thinks the world of Gordon. He thinks Gordon's got tremendous upside, but the production isn't there. This is a first-round pick for this football team. You can see no rushing touchdowns. He's got more touches of the football and no touchdowns than any other player in the National Football League. So he's got to begin to produce, and one way you do that is create big plays and find your way into the end zone.
Chris Hairston has reported eligible on 1st and 10. Little play action from Rivers. Quick strike, it's caught. Stevie Johnson inside Kansas City territory, lunges ahead to the 40. 13 more yards and another San Diego first down.
Still amazes me, though, the lack of a run game, the lack of balance, and how well Phillip Rivers can move the ball down the field, even against some of the best NFL defenses. He gets rid of the ball real quickly. Of course, a large majority of his passes are 10 yards or less. 72% of them, third most in the National Football League. Very close to what the Chiefs do on offense.
And he passes our good buddy Dan Fouts, as Rivers now all-time leader in career completions. Trying to thread the needle to Ladarius Green, who's playing on that bulky ankle. Trying to make a lunging catch. It'll be 2nd and 10.
I think Rivers believes he should have made a better throw. Look right there, but see, Green is drifting away from that. No, Green just dropped that one. No, Rivers likes this throw. I stand corrected. Rivers threw a really nice and catchable ball, which should have been completed. Green's got to make that catch for his quarterback.
And I believe that look from Rivers tells you all you need to know. This should be the 9th play of the drive.
Michigan Clinton! Michigan Clinton! Watch this! 390!
There comes Tamba Hali from the edge. Quick strike, screen pass. This is Stevie Johnson. Excellent tackle. What a play by Eric Berry as he dumps his man down. And we asked Andy Reid about Berry. Just couldn't talk enough in terms of positives with how well he played last week.
Yeah, he talked about him being all the way back. If you go back and look at the tape from last week, Berry had an exceptional game. I thought he looked as good as he's ever been as a pro player. We all know he's coming off of his battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma, but he looked really good in that win over the Denver Broncos 1 week ago.
380!
Woodhead flanking Rivers. This is 3rd and 7. Here come the Chiefs. Rivers steps up, able to elude Justin Houston. They're still coming. Rivers trying to lunge forward, runs out of bounds short of the first down marker. Trying to buy as much time as he could, just had nowhere to throw the football down the field.
Well, it all starts with pressure coming right in his face right here. You see Justin Houston. Now he's going to swim over the top, and Rivers comes underneath, but now he's losing ground. Jay Howard in chase, and good coverage on the back end. I think Rivers just did a really good job of not forcing this ball into coverage. You see double coverage and on Antonio Gates, and he's not going to throw it late to the backside way on the other side of the field. Just very smart to protect the football.
There's the rookie kicker, Josh Lambo, beat out Nick Novak for the job in the preseason. This one he's on target and perfectly through the uprights. Lambo, the top rookie kicker in the league in terms of kick scoring points, gets San Diego on the board in a 3-point game. Well, very animated discussion during the timeout between Rivers and Antonio Gates. Something you rarely see. It's obviously frustrated about something during that last sequence. Lambo 52-yard field goal to get the Chargers on the board. And Chris Conley standing back towards the end of his own end zone. Another touchback. Well, this was the conversation just a couple of seconds ago during that timeout.
Yeah, we don't know what was being said, but certainly it's a heated conversation. Now, having been on those sidelines in games where the communication is poor, you tend to get into these kind of confrontations. It's a, highly intense highly emotional moment when you're on sidelines and you're trying to communicate and one guy said something wrong, or you even think he said something wrong. Now you're going to express yourself maybe at another level. They were able to calm down and sit next to one another on that bench where I'm sure they're trying to work out the issues right now.
Well, no two players in that Chargers locker room have been more frustrated with the season that they've had than Rivers and Gates. 1st and 10. Smith under pressure. That pass is incomplete. Off the fingertips of Macklin. And Jerry Itachu coming hard on the pressure right in the face of Smith.
And we know Smith is normally accurate on those throws, but when you have pressure coming on you like this, look at that, forced the high throw. It's just good pass rush by the San Diego Chargers. Itachu. Jerry Itachu providing the pressure. I think that pass would have been complete to Jeremy Macklin had Itachu not put the hit on Alex Smith.
Anthony Sherman, the fullback, lines in front of West. High formation set. Play action from Smith on 2nd and 10. Goes underneath to Kelsey. Kelsey clotheslined to the field by Melvin Ingram. That was an old WWE move by the Chargers linebacker. A pickup of 5.
You know what we say, keep your head on the swivel now. You're going to make this move, you better duck. Look at that. You know, it's not intentional. He's just going for what he could get. He didn't grab the face mask, and it was the arm that sort of got caught right under the chin. See, right there. Looked like the hand grabbed the top of the shoulder pad, and I know it looks more violent than maybe what it is, but I don't know if that served as an infraction. Remember, the officials, they don't react on the aftermath, just the act itself.
Where does Smith go here? Here come the Chargers. 3rd and 5 over the middle. It's caught. 1st down and more. That's the tight end, Demetrius Harris. Big catch and run as they move inside San Diego territory. A pickup of 25.
And yeah, good protection means good throws from Alex Smith. Look at that. Nice throws. Harris came open over the middle. Was able to get behind the linebackers, Manti Te'o, to pick up a big gain on the play.
Chiefs placing their rookie tight end, James O'Shaughnessy, on IR this week with a foot injury, so more snaps now for Harris as he makes his first catch. Good lineup right at the 50. Here's Charcandrick West. They're able to sneak forward a pickup of 3. Early quarterback comparison between Smith and Phillip Rivers.
We know both guys do a really good job of protecting the football, making good decisions with the football as well. And Rivers, without, I think, the use of a real viable running game, 5 of 6 so far. But you can see, Alex Smith said he's going to come out and push it down the field a little bit. I think we've seen that early on.
Chiefs go draw play on 2nd and 7. And you talk about a cerebral tandem between a head coach, Solomon, and a quarterback. Alex Smith said something yesterday that was very interesting. He said, as a quarterback, you're at your best when a play call comes in from your coach and you know the reason why. As right now, those two are humming. That's really where they're at.
Yeah, understanding the reasons why. As you can see, play comes in from Andy Reid. He's looking at that call sheet. He understands where to go with the ball automatically because they've spent some time together. I think the best years of Alex Smith's career is going to be in Kansas City, playing for this coach, Andy Reid, and I think we're seeing signs of it.
Albert Wilson in motion. Here come the Chargers on 3rd and 3. Smith senses trouble's going to run for it. 1st down run. The penalty marker is thrown. And Smith, more mobile of a quarterback than you'd think, runs for 22 yards.
Illegal shift. Offense. 2 players in motion did not get set prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
I talked to Mike Carey about this during the week. And you could see the official was talking to Alex Smith saying, hey, you got to allow those guys to get set. Once they motion, you don't want to go with a quick count because it has to be a full second after the motion or after the shift that you allow them to be set before the ball is snapped. And number 12, Albert Wilson, was not fully set.
Well, that came into question in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, that wild ending to the game that we did, Baltimore and Jacksonville. And that one picks up the 22-yard run by Smith. 3rd and 8 after the penalty. Smith from the shotgun. Slings it near side of the field. It's caught. Kansas City needed the 40 for the first down. Maclin makes the catch, and it's a Kansas City first down.
What did Alex Smith tell us about Jeremy Maclin? He is that kind of receiver. Why simply have to give him more opportunities? He said on the 50-50 balls when he's one-on-one, as he is here, you got to go in and give him a shot to be able to come down with the ball. He's working against Jason Verrett. He believes that Jeremy Maclin can win the majority of the time with those 50-50 ball opportunities.
Maclin, a Pro Bowler last season, missed a game due to a concussion in Week 7. We've seen his receiving yards on the decline slightly over the last 4 weeks. A big catch there. Smith on 1st and 10, trying to thread the needle, and he does. What a catch by Albert Wilson.
What a throw by Alex Smith. Pressure in his face. Look, he puts this one where only Wilson could get it, and there's 3 Charger defenders in that area.
And now you see Smith scurrying his team up to try to get San Diego off balance. 27 yards on the throw and catch. Smith to Wilson.
Yeah, and not only did he want to go ahead and get the ball snapped quickly, this could be what they call a controversial call, even though I thought it was a catch. Smith said, let's get up there, let's go quick, so they can't challenge it. But there you see the pressure right in his face, right there on the hit from 57, Joe Mays.
People talk about how smart a quarterback Alex Smith is. Guy thinking on his feet there. As the Chargers just didn't have enough time to think about a challenge and pull that red flag out. 2nd and 10. Bunch wide receiver formation. Smith underneath again. It's caught by the tight end. 2nd catch by Harris. Manti Te'o has looked good coming back from his 4-game injury absence.
And how about Harris? He's starting to make some plays. We know about Travis Kelce. So the more that Demetrius Harris can get involved in this offense for his quarterback, Alex Smith, Andy Reid's going to go to him more and more, and he can design more plays where both tight ends can work off one another. And I think when you've got to focus on those tight ends now, the receivers can begin to make more plays. This offense is doing a good job eating up clock, keeping Phillip Rivers on the sideline.
West in motion. Smith faked to him and then tried to go the other way to Kelce. Incomplete. As Kansas City's drive stalls. And the kicker field goal unit onto the field.
Yeah, we say, well, why can't you complete this pass? Look at number 51, Kyle Emanuel, right in his face. he was close enough to, take a look at the dentures of Alex Smith. I mean, he was right there, and Smith just had to get rid of it. But that's where Alex is so good at not panicking and not causing some potential turnover, allowing Santos to come on and kick it.
Emanuel, the rookie out of North Dakota State. 5th-round pick, was a revelation for the Chargers in the preseason. Playing with the early pressure. That kick from Santos, 28 yards away, is through the uprights. Chiefs lead back to 6. Under 6 to play in the first half.
1, 2, 3.
Last night in nearby Santee, the NFL Flag Football League held its playoffs. The league sponsored by the Chargers and NFL Play 60. Keenan Allen donating tickets for one of the older Chargers-affiliated teams to attend today's game, and what a thrill for those youngsters here at Qualcomm Stadium. 28-yard field goal by Cairo Santos. If you've just joined us, Chiefs drove the length of the field early. Dontari Poe lining up as a fullback, got in for his first career touchdown. They then missed the extra point. Chargers tacked on their first 3. And then the Santos field goal to extend the Chiefs' lead back to 6. Phillip Rivers back onto the field. He'll start from the 20 when we come back. Better than 60,000, Qualcomm Stadium on a picturesque summer-like afternoon here in San Diego. And these fans all decked out in their LaDainian Tomlinson gear. He will have his jersey retired and be forever immortalized at a halftime ceremony. What a moment that'll be for LT and these fans. On 1st and 10, Phillip Rivers handing to Melvin Gordon. And how this offensive line will deal with this pressure from the Chiefs, a major storyline today.
Yeah, I think they can't run the balls. That puts it all on the shoulders of Phillip Rivers. And he's known as a stationary quarterback. They know it. Josh Maga comes through for their first sack on the day, but they've been able to hit, hurry, and harass Phillip Rivers, who just can't really get in rhythm enough to create consistent big plays for this offense.
Already, as you see, under pressure for most of this first half. Rivers completes. Once again, that's Stevie Johnson. Just past the 35, 13 yards in the Chargers' first down.
Stevie Johnson has to make these plays because Antonio Gates is going to get his share. Danny Woodhead has been excellent coming out of the backfield, but they need someone on the perimeter to pick up the slack and the production loss with the injury to Keenan Allen and Malcolm Floyd.
Johnson missed a couple of games, weeks 5 and 6 with a hamstring injury. When everyone was healthy, Johnson had almost become kind of an afterthought. Just 31 catches entering this one today. Here's Gordon breaking a tackle. Nifty play by Melvin Gordon. It was Derek Johnson, the shorthanded tackler, who missed him at a first down catch and run, a pickup of 12.
And this is what Gordon has to be able to do in this offense. Now, catching the ball out of the backfield is not something he did a lot coming out of the University of Wisconsin, but he's got to learn quickly. Now that we're in the second half of his rookie season, he's got to begin to show up with more plays like these. Most of them have been provided by Danny Woodhead catching out of the backfield, and you can see he's right now in the game, lined up to the side, I think, with Antonio Gates.
First and 10, they go end around here. Able to catch Kansas City off balance. That's Javante Herndon. Nice play call by Frank Reich. They pick up 9 yards to give him a nice second and short.
Nice play. Nice block on the edge by Ladarius Green and Danny Woodhead on the run play.
There is Woodhead. San Diego's only 2 rushing touchdowns of the season, able to get the yard that they needed. Both of those rushing touchdowns, by the way, came in week 1. They haven't had one since. Hard to believe.
He is a small guy, 5'8", 200 pounds, but I'm going to tell you right now, tough to tackle. What if I told you that Danny Woodhead has more yards after the catch than any other player in football? Julio Jones would be second, but he's tough to corral in space. Very quick, very elusive.
And the difference between them in that category, nearly 200 yards. What a season that Woodhead has had. First and 10, they fake the draw, screen pass. Chiefs weren't fooled.
No. Wow. Excellent play by Ron Parker. Good tackling. That's what we're seeing from this Kansas City Chiefs defense. Even though there's some catches being made against this defense. Look, first guy there, first guy gets him on the ground. They're swarming, great angles, great leverage, but the ability to hit and wrap up and not allow those yards after contact, that's when you're playing at the highest level on the defensive side of the ball.
Parker had one of their 5 interceptions in that win in Denver last week on 2nd and 11. What a play defensively was Derek Johnson. And he has been doing it year in and year out. Became their all-time leading tackler earlier this season.
He's an excellent player, there's no doubt. In coverage, in space, to be able to make that play, knife under the intended receiver without drawing the flag, tells you about his overall athleticism and his ability to play, even on third down.
Never-ending pre-snap chatter from Phillip Rivers. Where does he go? 3rd and 11. He's going to take a chance. Going end zone. Maybe some contact before the football arrived. No flags. Tyrell Williams, the intended target. Coverage on the play from Hussein Abdullah.
There was contact, but look, he's out of bounds. See the ball right there. I think that's why the official did not throw a flag, because Abdullah did not play the ball at all. Look right here. He's going to run into him. There's some bump, but the ball is more thrown out of bounds, even though Williams remained in bounds.
Williams just signed to their active roster yesterday when they officially named Malcolm Floyd as being inactive for this game. Or came to that decision. Mike Cypher's on to punt.
Game.
And a delay of
Offense.
game.
5-yard penalty, 4th down.
They'll give Cyphers 5 more yards to work with. Boy, Rivers has been hot. We saw him earlier in a heated conversation with Antonio Gates. He never stops talking, does he, during the course of the game?
He's a competitor, very emotional, and he has a lot to say.
Jeremy Maclin standing back deep, signals fair catch. And another well-placed punt by Cyphers. They'll have Alex Smith and the Chiefs inside their 15 when we come back. Now, some of the iconic names in the history of the San Diego Chargers, and LaDainian Tomlinson. That is the banner, the number that will be forever immortalized here in a halftime ceremony. His entire family here, and LT, a guy we've known for a long time, and someone you go back many, many years with. What a moment that'll be for he and his family.
Yeah, he personifies class. There's no doubt. Did this organization proud, as well as the entire city of San Diego.
And he would be only the 4th San Diego Charger to have his number retired in the stadium. Chiefs take over. Smith pump fakes. Scrambles out of the pocket. Itachu giving chase. And again, that mobility by Alex Smith. Not making the mistakes that so many quarterbacks make under pressure. Runs out of bounds, picks up a couple.
See, look, they've got it covered even on the back end. Take a look at these defensive backs. See, everyone is there, and there's nowhere to go with it, and good pressure up front.
That'll take us to the 2-minute warning. You're watching the NFL on CBS. With NFL Mobile, watch local and primetime NFL games live on your smartphone. Learn more at NFL.com/mobile. Spiro Ditas, Solomon Wilcott, Scott Kaplan, our entire CBS crew. 2nd and 7, 2-minute drill being run here by Alex Smith as they start just outside the 17 after the break. Charkandrick West just barely able to get back to the line of scrimmage. Tackled on the play by Corey Legion.
Spiro, remember, the Chiefs have only 2 timeouts. They had to burn one of their timeouts on the very first possession of the game just to get organized. Now they're sitting here with 2. They might want to hurry things up, but got to start by converting this 3rd and 6 play. Look for them to maybe try to get the ball to Jeremy Maclin if they get one-on-one coverage to his side.
West flanking Smith. Smith somehow escapes his sacks. He's going to try to run for it, and he does. Masterful play by Smith, diving to the 30 for the Kansas City first down, a run of 10.
He got the covers that he wanted, but he didn't get the protection he wanted. But we said on 3rd down, the mobility of Alex Smith will break down your defense. You get too far up the field, as you saw there, you miss him while trying to control and keep him in the pocket, then he's going to use his athleticism to hit that first down marker and be able to create a new set of downs. This is something that maybe even Phillip Rivers can't do for his team, and that's why I think Alex Smith is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the league.
There was Melvin Ingram who had him wrapped up for the sack. And Ingram, a guy in his 4th season, we know about his injury history. He's shown flashes, Solomon, of brilliance, we've seen, but that's what he wanted back.
Anytime you hear the word flashes, the other side of that is inconsistency, right? Because flashes mean he does it every now and then, but consistency is what they need from Ingram.
Kyle Emanuel, the rookie linebackers, come onto the field on 1st and 10. Chiefs down to their final timeout. $1:20 to play. High pass. It's caught. Kelsey. So deadly as a tight end. What a tackle by Jimmy Wilson to get him around the shoestring. 16 yards and another first down.
Yeah, wow. Kelsey was moving. I'm telling you right now. This is where I think, even Eric Weddle could have maybe bumped Kelsey as he was coming across the field. He was shallow and short of 5 yards, so you can jam the tight end in that situation.
Clock continues to run inside of a minute. Smith flushed out of the pocket, throws on the run, completes inside San Diego territory. That's Albert Wilson, another first down play. And Wilson able to get out of bounds and stop the clock as he picks up 23.
Just smart play. And then, this offense is moving under 2 minutes because of the mobility of Alex Smith. He's buying time, allowing receivers to get open. Andy Reid is calling on his tight ends to be able to make a play when he get the right matchup. So if they can protect for Alex Smith, he's going to make the throws. But even when the protection break down, his mobility allows him to extend the play and still create a positive gain by getting a completion.
right at the range of Santos. 1st and 10, Smith tackled from the back, but able to pick up positive yardage again inside the 30. Tackled by Atauchu. Reminder coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report will send you to New York. JB and the guys are standing by. Highlights and analysis all next on the Verizon Halftime Report. Kansas City down to its final timeout. 20 seconds to play. Smith over the middle, completes. That's Chris Conley, the rookie wide receiver out of Georgia, former 3rd-round pick. First down play, and now Andy Reid will take his final timeout.
Good use of the timeout. Andy Reid is in complete control. I mean, he's working that play call sheet. He knows what situations he wants to get his team in, what personnel groupings he need for each situation. He just stays ahead of it. As long as he's getting positive gains on early downs, you just get the sense that he's in complete control. And with a quarterback like Alex Smith working with this kind of efficiency, going 3 for 3, 56 yards, and that's when I think the offense for the Kansas City Chiefs can be really good. Because the coach and the quarterback, they're always sharing a brain, and they're protecting the football, and you can see they're very productive.
And doing it, Solomon, in the absence of their most lethal weapon, Jamal Charles. Everyone thought their season would go south dramatically, as it already had at that point. Just a remarkable turnaround since he was lost for the year with the ACL injury. Looks like San Diego will burn its first timeout. So 16 seconds left. If you're going to take a shot or two here, you have to think they're going end zone with no timeouts left. Manhattan. 16 seconds to play. No timeouts for Kansas City. Solomon, where's Alex Smith looking here?
Well, you got 11 personnel. That means 1 tight end, 1 running back. I try to get the combo up top with Travis Kelce or hit the check down with West coming out of the backfield.
Smith going end zone, and Macklin just runs out of real estate. Just 5 seconds come off the clock. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Yeah, he was never open. He tried to go to the trip side. I thought with all the defenders to that side of the field, you could see Macklin, that's that 7 route, going to the corner. But that's a tough throw. But you could see they had help underneath and over the top of Macklin. I thought the combination to the other side of the field with the tight end and running back, because you want to get a linebacker in coverage against Kelce or against the back and try to get that matchup and win.
Chiefs again are out of timeouts. So really the only play at this point is to throw to the end zone. Chargers are going to burn their 2nd timeout. Want to make sure everything is set. Another reminder, the Verizon Halftime Report comes your way next. JB, Tony, Bart Boomer, and Coach Cowher standing by in our CBS studios in New York. The Verizon Halftime Report in just a moment. What a first half for Alex Smith. Solomon, a guy who averages 241 yards passing per game, already over the 200-yard mark in the first half.
Now look at the yards per play. 7.3 yards per play. They're doing pretty good. And Mike McCoy, he's got to find a way to keep Phillip Rivers on the field. They've got to convert some 3rd downs. They got to turn those red zone possessions into points and not just have to settle for the field goal.
Chiefs have won 3 straight. Just a game out of that final AFC wildcard slot. Hard to believe here in week 11. Smith on 2nd and 10, throwing end zone. It's caught. Kelce, touchdown. Late flag at the end of the play. Could be a hit above the shoulder pad into the head area. 12-yard touchdown catch if it stands. Carl Sheffers is our referee.
Personal foul, number 50, defense, for an unnecessary hit on a defenseless player. The result of the play is a touchdown. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Well, it's going to be right here, and this is just right in that center, right between those safeties. That's where the hole is. And you've got to be able to get the ball to Kelce. He's so good at finding those spaces, and look at this throw. Right between the 2 safeties on the back end of the defense. Alex Smith is plenty good enough, the quarterback position in this league. Can go a long way with him. Accurate throw, courageous throw, and what a catch by Kelce.
First touchdown catch for Kelce in 9 games. His 4th of the season. So Smith marches him 86 yards, 9 plays. As is the case with every scoring play, it is subject to automatic review. Quick striking drive by the Chiefs, 15-3 on CBS. Now the Travis Kelce touchdown still under review. Here's the call.
After review, the receiver never had control of the ball. The ball hit the ground. It is an incomplete pass. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal, automatic. First down.
All right, let's bring in our officiating expert, Mike Carey from New York. Mike, take us through the play.
Yes, guys, I think by now we all should know you have to have clear control when you're in the air. And when you're going to the ground, you have to maintain that control. And the ball may not hit the ground. The ball hits the ground. Prior, he did not have control. An incomplete pass every time.
All right, Mike, thanks. And now Andy Reid putting a lot of trust in his quarterback. They're going to take a shot. 6 seconds left, no timeouts.
Yeah, and guess what? I would spread them all out. Now they're going to go with a full house in that backfield, a full back and a runner. But Alex Smith could end up running the ball.
Boy, San Diego just barely able to get a timeout call. That'll be their final one. The Chiefs had Macklin and Wilson split out on both sides of the field. And now a couple of more seconds to think about it for Andy Reid. Well, it was Manti Te'o who had the jarring hit on Kelce here. Going to drive him to the turf. And dislodging the football just enough. There it is. You see it coming loose. Great job by our cameraman here at Qualcomm Stadium.
You know, we like to say the eye in the sky don't lie. And it's not always true because we don't always have that clear, visible evidence that we need. But that time, I think it was plenty evidence that he did not have control of the ball. And how about this? Andy Reid changes his mind. He's going to allow Santos to kick it for 3.
So Santos, who hit from 28 yards earlier, will attempt a chip shot here from 24 yards out. Santos, who was the hero here for the Chiefs last season in Week 7, is perfect from 24 yards out. So the touchdown overturned, but the Chiefs able to salvage 3 points and get their lead to 9. We set the table for you in terms of just how big this game is for Kansas City. A team that started the year 1-5, looking for their 4th straight win. Entered the day just a game behind Buffalo and the Jets for that final wild card spot. The Jets losing today now, so they get to 5-5. Houston has leapfrogged in front of them. But so basically all you need to know, Solomon, is that the Chiefs are right in the thick of things for that final spot.
And I think it's amazing because they were in Chicago. They lose Jamal Charles for the season. And then they were going to lose, I think, another game against Minnesota. Lose 5 in a row. You're without your best football player. You talk to the coaches, talk to the players on this team. They'll tell you that Jamal Charles is their best football player on either side of the ball. And this team, miraculously, under the leadership of their head coach, Alex Smith, able to go on, Andy Reid, are able to go on and win 3 in a row. Just phenomenal.
There haven't been many teams that have started 1-5 and made the postseason. Only one, in fact, the 1970 Bengals. It's a number of reasons why they're in this position. We've talked about Charcandrick West, the defense being revitalized. And really the biggest improvement, according to Andy Reid, has been his offensive line. After all of their struggles earlier in the season, they've performed at a very high level during this 3-game winning streak.
What did he say? He says, you know, we wanted to go with some talented guys. He said, but in the end, you got to go with tough guys. Tough guys, he said. He always went with tough guys on the offensive line, and they wanted to be more athletic. And he said, you know what? We're going back to playing our 5 toughest guys, and he feels it has made a huge difference.
Chargers will run play. Final 2 seconds will come off the clock. So a break for San Diego as that Kelce touchdown was picked up. But the Chargers in the midst of this 5-game losing streak, still down 9 as we reach halftime. We'll be back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50. Just about ready for the start of the second half here in San Diego. The Chargers and the Chiefs taking the field with Kansas City in front 12-3. And time now to take a look at who you're loving, presented by McDonald's Game Time Gold. The Chiefs thought they had a touchdown connection between Alex Smith and Travis Kelce. Officials went to the replay booth, determined that Kelce did not in fact have possession. So the touchdown was negated, but Cairo Santos able to salvage 3 points and extend Kansas City's lead to 9. Spero Dedes, an emotional halftime ceremony here just a couple of minutes ago as Chargers great LaDainian Tomlinson had his jersey retired. Here was the banner unveiling just seconds ago, and our Scott Kaplan is standing by with LT on the field.
Well, Spero, you're so right. That was such an emotional halftime ceremony. LT, the Chargers have called San Diego home for over 50 years, and only 4 guys have ever had their number retired. What is the emotion that you must be feeling right now?
I can't believe it, honestly. It is such a moment that I would obviously always remember, but you never envision getting your number retired. It's not something you set out to do as a player. It happens, and it's really overwhelming feeling.
You had a chance when you were very early in your career to possibly take off, but you showed tremendous loyalty to this organization. Why did you do that?
I believed in this organization. I wanted to be a part of the solution and turning this organization around. I didn't want to run out at the height of my career because I believe, you stick it out.
What a family affair today for LaDainian Tomlinson. His wife sang the national anthem, and his son now believes he really did play for the Chargers. Congratulations, LT. Back up to you, Spero.
Yeah, Scott, I don't know what would make him more nervous, the unveiling of the jersey, having his jersey retired here, or is watching his wife sing the national anthem, his wife, Torsia Salmon, who was wonderful before this game. Kansas City boots it away to begin the third quarter. And Phillip Rivers and company will have it from the 20. Salmon, what about adjustments here for the Chargers?
I think it's clear for both teams. I think you start with the Chiefs. They've got to achieve greater success on third down and inside the red zone. They were 1 of 3 inside the red zone where they had to settle for field goals and not get touchdowns. For the Chargers, protect Phillip Rivers from this Chiefs pass rush. They did give up 1 sack, but as we said, he was hit, hurried, and harassed in the first half. They need greater rhythm on the offensive side of the ball, and I think it starts with protecting their quarterback.
This is a San Diego team that is well rested at their bye last week. It's a disastrous season that they didn't anticipate. Certainly 5 straight losses after that 2-2 start. Rivers under duress. Appeared to be perhaps a hold. You saw King Dunlap and Tamba Hali tangled up.
Number 77 offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
So the officials do get Dunlap, who's been one of their many offensive linemen injured.
Yeah, the appropriately 6'9", 330-pound King Dunlap. But you can see the holding there on Tamba Hali. It's a big man.
Tamba Hali, Pro Bowler, each of the last 5 years. As you see the first half possessions for San Diego over the first 2 quarters. 1st and 20 after the penalty. Rivers steps up in the pocket, completes just shy of the 20. That is Herndon on the catch. We've just been told by the Chiefs Anthony Thomas has suffered a concussion and will not return.
Oh yeah, and he is, such a primary part of the Chiefs offense. He'll be missed, but it seems like those other receivers are really starting to come on for the Chiefs, so someone else will have to be the next man up.
See Woodhead line up in the slot towards the top of your screen. Rivers from the gun on 2nd and 11. Chiefs coming on the blitz. Rivers wrapped up and sacked. It's Tamba Hali already wreaking havoc. First minute of this third quarter.
Well, this offensive line has struggled, and Phillip Rivers needs their help. And watch Tamba Hali, top of your screen, working against, again, King Dunlap, who's just struggling. He can't block Tamba Hali. Hali comes right underneath him from the blind side and gets into Phillip Rivers. Now, you would normally say if they could just run the football and slow down his pass rush, but Chargers have shown no signs of being able to mount a real good rushing attack.
One of the adjustments that Salmon mentioned, 3rd and long. He's trying to pick up some positive yardage. This is Javante Herndon. Only his 3rd career reception. Forced out of bounds by Derek Johnson. But Ali making it happen for this Chiefs defense, Solomon, that has been suddenly resurgent over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, we talked about it being a halftime adjustment. Oh, my goodness. I mean, that one's pretty obvious. You've got to start to protect your quarterback. And we talked about it. Their lack of balance, I think, makes it more difficult to protect Philip Rivers.
Ali now 4.5 sacks on the season. Is only 3 away from passing Neil Smith for 2nd all-time in Chiefs history. Macklin is brought down. Only a return of 3, 53 yards in the punt from Cyphers. Tonight, how prepared are we for a terrorist strike? Find out how big American cities are planning to protect themselves. Tonight, 60 Minutes, only CBS. Early stages, second half, Qualcomm Stadium, beautiful San Diego. Temperatures in the upper 80s. Chiefs in front of the Chargers, 12-3 for second half possession for Alex Smith and the Chiefs. Quick strike, Jason Avant scurrying up the line of scrimmage. And an excellent start for this Chiefs offense. Run out of bounds by Patrick Robinson. They pick up 20.
I just love it. You're going to see this ball's going to come out here. That's where Avant is. But watch the ball placement on this. He throws it out in front of Avant. That leads him away from the defender, Brandon Flowers. He's able to catch it and run. That's what created the big play. Excellent ball placement by Alex Smith, and then Avant did the rest.
No quarterback in the league throws those underneath passes more than Alex Smith. Charcandrick West trying to dance his way back to the original line of scrimmage as we go downstairs to Scott Kaplan.
Sparrow, it's interesting that they did throw the ball outside because talking to Andy Reid at halftime, he said the part of their package that they were really excited about coming into this game was using the middle of the field. And you remember the first half, tight ends, receivers, running backs, all catching the ball underneath in the middle of the field. On defense, he said we've got to ramp up pressure. While Rivers didn't throw for a lot of yards, he was very efficient in the first half.
We already saw them ramp up pressure on that last possession, getting to Philip Rivers. Even came away with a sack, forcing a 3-and-out.
There's Samba Ali doing it for the Chiefs defense. There's Smith on 2nd and long. Kelsey, who had the touchdown negated on that last possession to end the first half. They pick up 9 yards on that play. Nice blocking in front of him by Albert Wilson and Jeremy Macklin.
This is that short, quick passing game we talked about. The majority of their pass attempts, 74%, or 10 yards or less for Alex Smith. That's the most in the National Football League. So that means if I'm John Pagano, if I'm the defense for the San Diego Chargers, you got to start crowding the line of scrimmage. Quick throws mean the D linemen have to get their hands up, try to bat down some of these balls.
We'll see if John Pagano makes the adjustment. 3rd and 3. Again, Smith goes underneath. This is West. Excellent tackle on the play. Jason Verrett. And when this kid has been healthy, he is among the best young corners in the NFL.
Tackling is one way to negate these short, quick passes. You can't allow yards after the catch or yards after contact. And Jason Verrett shows it right there by making that tackle and forcing the punt. If you miss that tackle, it's going to be a first down for Charcandrick West.
Boy, we come across a lot of crazy stats doing these games every week. The Chargers on the season have 1 punt return yard. That is hard to believe. The NFL record for a season is 27 total punt return yards, and once again, they don't get a chance to return it as Hittman signals fair catch. Well, some of the indelible images of that 1960 San Diego Chargers team that consequently played up at the LA Coliseum. And it's been a long time since San Diego has started to drive out past their own 40-yard line. You see that graphic, incredible. 67 straight games as Melvin Gordon gets out past the 10. Solomon, I just mentioned we saw Javante Herndon fair catch that last punt. How do you have 1 total punt return yard for an entire season to this point?
I think it comes from having to fair catch so many. You're fielding them deep in your own territory inside the 10-yard line, and sometimes you don't catch them at all, and they are allowed to roll. So I think that's been a huge part of it.
Jacoby Jones, the man who they brought in, who has had so much success returning punts and kicks for Baltimore. And so they had to make a change after he struggled a couple of weeks back. And right now Rivers faced with another 3rd down coming up.
Boy, they really do struggle when it comes to trying to run the football. But here Rivers is facing a 3rd short. Got to throw it quick because you know they're coming.
White. Hey, hot. Hey. Hey, you go.
Changing the play.
Rivers only 101 yards passing to this point. Underneath, completes to Herndon. Herndon gets to the 20. First down, catch and run as he's run out of bounds after a pickup of 10.
He was expecting a blitz, so he said, okay, I want to throw it quick. Herndon's sitting over here at the bottom, and he can run it for the first down. That's an extension of the run game. But there you see Houston coming underneath Barksdale. And you can tell if Rivers doesn't get rid of it quick, right now his offensive tackles are struggling against Justin Houston and Tamba Hali.
Told you about the injuries that they've had on their offensive line. King Dunlap missing 4 games. DJ Fluker playing with a remnants of a concussion as Rivers going backwards again. And guess who? Tamba Hali with his 2nd sack. And both coming in this 3rd quarter.
He just beat King Dunlap right away. Now he's just going to come off the top of the screen. And look, I mean, by the time he hits the top of his drop, there is Houston and Hali. And it's like a meeting in the backfield. Look, these guys are just coming. They're pinching. And watch both offensive tackles. Barksdale. Dunlap whiffs on Tamba Hali, so he beats Houston to the quarterback, and Phillip Rivers had no chance.
Well, Rivers sees those 2 guys in his dreams, Hali and Houston, as they have terrorized Rivers over the past couple of years. 2nd and 23. Rivers right up the seam, a little bit too far in front of Antonio Gates.
He had him wide open. Had him wide open. Because that's the one that even Rivers knows he's got to hit that one. He had him one-on-one coming over the middle of the field. Look, watch the vision down here. Look at him. You just get that to him, he's going to run away from the defender. But see, it's the pressure that has him rattled. Even that when he does have time or able to move around and allow the receivers to detach from coverage, he can't get it to him.
Gates does not have a catch. So this point at the 8-11 mark of the 3rd quarter. Don't have many plays on your book for 3rd and 23. Rivers going to sling it, and that one is nearly intercepted right through the hands of the rookie corner Marcus Peters, who is already being talked about as a candidate for the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year. What a season he's had.
Yeah, Peters was all over this. Look, he's on top. That's perfect relation as to where you want to be on the receiver in man-to-man coverage when the ball is coming in. You stand a better chance of catching it than does the receiver.
Peters, the 18th overall pick in the draft. We asked Eric Johnson about Peters. He says we don't look at him as a rookie just because of how he plays. A kid who already has set such a high standard for himself. Picked off Peyton Manning in that big win in Denver last week. Fair catch by Macklin. Penalty marker thrown back on San Diego's side of the field at around the 45. 48 yards on the punt. Here's Carl Shepherds.
Kick, holding, receiving team number 20. 10-yard penalty, 1st down, timeout.
Steve Nelson, the man, penalized Alex Smith when we come back. Thursday, December the 3rd, your weekend starts here. It'll be round 2 of one of the NFL's all-time rivalries, Packers-Lions. Thursday Night Football only on CBS and NFL Network. Spiro Dita, Salman Wilcox, Scott Kaplan, rest of our CBS crew, our producer Ryan Galvin, Andy Goldberg, our director, as we rejoin you from Qualcomm Stadium. Under 8 minutes to play. Smith on 1st and 10. And that will be ruled an incompletion. It was Jeremy Macklin who was lit up. Penalty marker comes in at the end of the play. Macklin has already missed the game this season due to a concussion. It was back in week 7.
Looked like Jaleel Adai. Wow.
Adai, one of the hard hitters in the San Diego secondary. And you see even Andy Reid has come on at the field.
The ruling on the field is the pass is incomplete. Prior to the pass, illegal use of hands, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
They didn't rule on the hit at all. Illegal use of hands, but see Macklin's down. Number 37, watch. To the helmet. That's crown of the helmet to the chin. This is exactly what we talk about being in a defenseless position. This is an illegal hit. I mean, we've legislated this out of the game, and it's been taught that you don't lead with the head to the head of a defenseless receiver, which Maclin was defenseless on that play. And you can see Addae led with the crown of his helmet to the chin of Jeremy Maclin.
And based on how they've enforced that call, they've been so close with it. Anything close, they've thrown the flag. Really stunning that that penalty is not called on Addae.
Yeah, this one's rather obvious. I mean, it's real out. He never went for a lower target line, if you will. Went straight for the head, led with the crown of his helmet to the head of Jeremy Maclin.
The Chiefs have already lost one of their receivers, DeAnthony Thomas, who's so critical to them in the return game as well. Lost him to a concussion in the first half. And now the obvious concern on Maclin as the trainers take a look at him on the sideline. That's Spencer Ware giving Charcandrick West a brief blow. One thing we didn't mention is Nile Davis, who was their number 2 back to start the season behind Jamal Charles. He is a healthy scratch for his second straight week. And so Spencer Ware, the only other healthy running back that they have behind West.
And I would give the San Diego Chargers credit defensively. They've not allowed West to have that kind of breakout game. Right now, Alex Smith is the leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs with 26 yards on the ground.
Maclin still being looked at. Look at Ware. Putting him in the spin machine. He's still going. Lunges across the 45. That'll be a first down run. Nicely done by Ware as he picks up 9. What have you seen so far from Smith?
The mobility of Alex Smith. Look, this is a planned read option play for him to run. Another read option to keep the defense off balance, keep them chasing Alex Smith. And then when the protection breaks down, he can get out of the pocket. He's not taking sacks in this game, just being very judicious about when to use his legs and when to use his arm. So he's keeping them ahead of the chains on early downs and keeping the defense off balance.
And again, if you've just joined us, Smith has not thrown a pick since week 3. Earlier in this game set a new franchise record for consecutive pass attempts without an interception.
Sometimes when that protection breaks down, it sure helps to have a quarterback like Alex Smith. I mean, his athleticism, his mobility, it even forces that pass rush to slow down and be less aggressive, trying to control and contain him in the pocket. And when you look at Phillip Rivers, and right now we're seeing Jeremy Maclin, they're going through that concussion protocol. You can see Jaleel Addae, he's coming off. He may be a little dinged himself after leading with the head.
We've seen some hard hitting already, early stages of this third quarter. So Addae walking into the Chargers locker room. Anthony Sherman is the lone setback. Smith goes play action to him. He's going to run with it. Scrambles out of the pocket as he tucks it away. And Smith, as you saw, Kansas City's leading rusher to this point. Salma, we're looking down. We don't see Charcandrick West, certainly not on the field. Didn't see him on the sideline for a moment. And that obviously can be a big area of concern as Spencer Ware is now back onto the field for the Chiefs.
So when you're managing the offense the way that Alex Smith is, when we talk about being ahead of the chains, we're talking about positive yards on first down, positive on second, creating third medium like what you see here, 3rd and 5. And now he has the option to throw it, or if it breaks down, he can pick up the first down with his legs.
Well, his favorite target is on the sideline at the moment, Jeremy Maclin. Smith wrapped up, and this time they get him. Corey Liuget, first sack for the Chargers defense today. And San Diego's defense able to get off the field. The Chiefs will punt.
Is Corey Liuget listening to the broadcast? Because watch him. He doesn't just go all out on this rush. Look, he rushes up top, and then see, he rushed to contain Alex Smith. He almost sensed he was going to roll out to his right. You can see Liuget working his way to that side of the field. Alex Smith ran right into him. Great play by Corey Liuget.
Third sack of the season for Liuget. He has a sack in now each of the last 5 meetings with Kansas City.
Another fair catch, right? Still 1 yard in the return game for this San Diego Chargers special teams.
Aerial coverage of today's game being provided by MetLife. First and 10, Rivers back onto the field, over the middle, completes. It's Stevie Johnson. So, Sama, we've just talked about some of the injured Chiefs. You see Jeremy Maclin going through the concussion protocol. They are working on one of the legs of Charcandrick West. Suddenly, the Chiefs with some of their key guys being looked at.
Yeah, West, they seem to be working on his hamstring.
Danny Woodhead on second and short. So, the question is, if San Diego can get their offense going, this could be a game, but right now they just can't block anyone.
Yeah, it starts with the blocking. It starts with protection. King Dunlap has now been taken out of the game at left tackle. Chris Hairston, number 75, has been inserted at the left tackle position. Maybe he can improve some kind of protection and be able to block Tamba Hali.
Hali beating Dunlap on successive plays earlier in this quarter. That pass is deflected and intercepted. Justin Houston, and he's in for the pick six.
This is what pressure does to even the elite quarterbacks in our league. He felt pressure, and he felt hurried to throw that ball, even though he saw Justin Houston standing right in his face. And when he tried to pull the trigger on it, Houston was able to come away. See, he's feeling pressure here, but he doesn't see this because he's too busy looking behind himself, and he just give that ball up for grab. What a play by Justin Houston. This is Tamba Hali and Houston working so well together, creating what we call the illusion of pressure for a quarterback. Even when it's not there, he was feeling it.
Third career interception for Houston, his second of the season, and his first career touchdown. 16 yards on the pick six return by Justin Houston. Cairo Santos with the point after, and it goes from bad to worse for the Chargers. Look at what this Chiefs defense has done over the last 2 weeks. That's actually 5 quarters, less than 5 quarters, Solomon. 8 sacks, 6 takeaways.
Against quarterbacks like Peyton Manning and Phillip Rivers. Bob Sutton has dialed up the magic elixir for this defense, their ability to put pressure on the quarterback and create turnovers.
As you have said, the basic fundamental aspect of offensive football is blocking, and right now the Chargers can't block anyone. Javante Herndon will take a knee in the end zone, and the Chargers will have it from the 20. Tomorrow on CBS, Supergirl flies into action to Saver City. New Supergirl tomorrow, 8/7 Central, only CBS.
I think Phillip Rivers needs Supergirl to provide some protection. And I think we could see his production improve. Look at Charcandrick West limping off. You said they were working on that right hamstring. Justin Houston and Tamba Hali, I think it does start up front for them on that defense. When they can dial up pressure, just getting pressure off the edge without even having to blitz in Bob Sutton's defensive scheme, this defense will be playing at a very high level.
Chargers have, or the Chiefs rather, have told us it is a right hamstring for West. His return is questionable. That's Johnson. It's his 5th reception of the day, over now 40 yards, and they're going to need a lot more where that came from Stevie Johnson.
Yeah, and it's tough to push the ball down the field. You know, Phillip Rivers is a 5-7-step drop guy, vertical passing attack, and trying to push it down the field to get it to these receivers. You can see, yeah, they've got some catches, but very little production in terms of yards. Very few big plays in the passing game because the protection can't hold up long enough for Phillip Rivers to hold the ball in the pocket and then push the ball down the field.
We saw no catches for either Woodhead or Gates. It's hard to believe at this point. Johnson, another catch. Woodhead, second most receptions among running backs in the NFL. 45 catches entering this one today. See Rivers going to get rolled up on at the end of that play. It was Chris Hairston who's come on for King Dunlap. First down on the catch by Johnson.
180.
Very pedestrian numbers till this point from Phillip Rivers.
Set. 380.
Rivers on 1st and 10, pocket collapses. Rivers going to tuck it away, nowhere to throw down the field. Mauga watches him run out of bounds after a pickup of 4.
Oh, they just do a really good job of defending, as you see one of the offensive linemen down, but Look at the receivers down the field. There's a red hat next to every blue jersey. Even Woodhead, who released out of the backfield late, he was covered. At the top of the screen, look at everyone's locked down in man-to-man coverage. This secondary for the Chiefs has gotten so much better during the middle portion of the season. I think it's helped turn around their fortunes in the way that they're playing on defense. We know they have a great pass rush, but great coverage on the back end also.
Injured Charger is Joe Barksdale, one of their offseason free agent acquisitions, coming over from St. Louis. And this has been one of the major storylines for this team, all the injuries that they've had, specifically on their offensive line.
Yeah, Franklin at the left guard position has missed time. Dunlap at left tackle has missed time. DJ Fluker has battled some injuries. And now you see Barksdale walking off. 5 different starting offensive line combinations. Tied for 3rd most in the NFL. There's no way to treat your quarterback, is it?
No, it is not. And Barksdale, consequently, the only offensive lineman that has played in every game this season. And he's now replaced by Kenny Wiggins, the second-year man out of Fresno State.
Let's go play!
Rivers on 2nd and 5, turns hands to Woodhead. And so this Kansas City defense is right there. It'll be 3rd down coming up. The other interesting thing that this defense has started to do, they've had group dinners, not with a couple of guys, Solomon, but the entire defensive unit. Every Friday night they've gathered together. And Derek Johnson told us yesterday he thinks it's made a difference in terms of chemistry.
It has, and you would think that naturally that would maybe occur organically, but these players come from different places. And you'd be surprised how they have their own entourage off to themselves. So getting everyone together, I think, is a huge thing, and it's not something that happens automatically.
Here's Rivers. Probes the defense on 3rd and 8. He's going to throw it over the middle, and it is incomplete. Right through the fingertips of Dontrell Inman. And that basically encapsulates the day and the entire season for the Chargers.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers does everything. He buys time. He's like scrambling. Okay, he's got him open. Look, he tried to catch it and run with it, but he tried to run before he actually completed the catch. Watch him take his eyes off it. See that little quick turn? It tells you he took his eyes off the ball just before he was able to secure it. It's got to be a very frustrating day for Phillip Rivers.
Jeremy Maclin back deep. Another punt for Cyphers as we are inside of a minute left in the quarter. Macklin's going to play it. So after being looked at apparently past the concussion protocol, I should say, on the sideline. And he will get to the 20, 57-yard punt from Cyphers and 11 yards on the return from Maclin. Coming up tonight, Week 11 continues with Sunday Night Football on NBC. Tomorrow, Monday Night Football on ESPN. And then Week 12 will kick off with a Thanksgiving Day triple header beginning at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. We'll all be in front of the television set. A lot of football coming your way later this week.
Fun day, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Best day of the year if you're a football fan.
I know you're watching your waistline. You always want to stay fit, but
not on
do
Thanksgiving.
you give yourself one day? Yeah, Thanksgiving,
right?
Kidding me? There you go.
Absolutely. 1st and 10. Chiefs start just outside their own 20. Smith, play action's going to tuck it away and run again. Slides close to the 25-yard line, just supremely confident with his decision-making, Solomon, and where he wants to go with the football.
Yeah, we talk about it being that singles hitter. That's okay. I mean, he's not a riverboat gambler when it comes with the football, the playing quarterback. He doesn't risk the ball. He doesn't turn it over. In fact, anytime I see him with a turnover, maybe a fumble or throw an interception, I look at it as an anomaly, but he plays really well and keeps his teams in games. And right now, he's finding a way to keep his team on that winning trend.
Sun starting to set here in San Diego, California. The 2 headliners, Alex Smith, Phillip Rivers, who's been so great, not so much today. One of these guys has had the blocking up front, Solomon, and the other has not.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers, he's going to have to get in the whirlpool tomorrow. Look, already he's been sacked 3 times and hit a whole lot more than that. Jersey is getting dirty, and even when he's been able to make some plays, he's overthrown an intended receiver, and Antonio Gacy's wide open. And when he's hit a receiver who was wide open, they dropped it. And so it's been that kind of day. Very frustrating for Phillip Rivers. He can continue to work on it because this game is not out of reach. All they have to do is create a few big plays and not Only will they be back in it, they can still come away with a win.
Now, Rivers entered the day averaging 337 yards passing per game. Today, just $131. And not to mention that interception. So the fourth quarter begins. Kansas City in front, 19-3. Second and 7. They get to Smith again. It's the rookie linebacker out of Miami, Denzel Perryman. Second sack for the Chargers.
And there you see the speed of Perryman. Look at this. He's smart. He started to get containment sort of as that green dog rusher. We call it just a late rusher as he came from the second level of the defense. Smith didn't think he was going to come, thought he was going to drop back in coverage, but he disguised his intent to go and rush the quarterback, and then you can see his speed and ability to close on Alex Smith came up huge there for the defense.
First career sack for Perryman, a rookie out of Miami whom they took in the second round of the NFL draft. Loss of 14, so it's a 3rd and 21. This is Spencer Ware. You see a penalty marker just past where he just ran with the football. A couple of markers on the field. And we told you earlier, Nile Davis, again, a healthy scratch. So with Charcandrick West being looked at, that right hamstring, Ware,
Pass
they're only...
interference, number 19 offense. That penalty's declined. Result of the play, 4th down.
Spencer Ware, their only healthy running back. But right now with a comfortable lead, not as much of a concern as it was earlier.
Yeah, but they're still going to have to close out this game. You just get the sense that the Chargers are one big play away from, capturing the momentum and being able to maybe steal this game away from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Colquitt on the punt. This is Herndon. Ball comes loose. He fumbled the football. Who's got it? Kansas City football. Jamel Fleming falls at it. Boy, I was just about to say that long streak of field position for the Chargers inside their 40 was just about to end. My goodness.
We watched Herndon in practice on Friday where he fielded punts really well, but this one he just doesn't get under it. So you can't allow that ball to hit the ground. You've got to get completely under that punt and not allow it to get away from your body and turn it into a handball catch. See right there? So you got to get under it and corral that ball and pull it into your body. He fumbles. The Chiefs recover.
They made the change. Jacoby Jones began the season as their punt returner. He struggled. Now they've given Herndon a chance, and he'll be thinking about that one for the next week.
Yeah, it all starts with fielding the punts before you can return one and begin to gain yards on the play.
Spencer Ware, the second-year running back of LSU, flanking Smith as the Chiefs begin the drive inside the Chargers 45. Smith from the gun, nice blitz pickup by Ware. Smith will tuck it away, maybe pick up a yard. Zalman, what more can you say? Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. So this long losing streak for the Chargers approaches a 6th consecutive game.
Yeah, it's really about the energy. I got to just see better energy from their offensive line. I got to see better energy from Mike McCoy's defense right now, particularly in what we call these turnover situations. Sudden change where you have the possession change back over to the Chiefs. Now the defense got to play with greater energy.
Here's Ware. And Ware is stuck, hard hit by Denzel Perryman, who meets him at the line of scrimmage.
Perryman playing with energy. I can tell you that right now. You can tell these rookies now when they get an opportunity. There's a guy that played some good football. Okay, you're going to see Perryman right here. Watch him just kind of shoot the gap. He likes to get up to that line of scrimmage. Look at him shoot the gap. Meeting the running back in the backfield. That's the energy we're talking about. Now, hopefully that can spread over to the other 10 guys in the huddle.
And Perryman has come on. He has actually taken snaps away from the veteran in front of him, Donald Butler. It just has not been the same player we saw him perform at a couple of seasons ago. 3rd and 10, Smith again from the gun, steps up, throws, incomplete. Off the hands of Kelsey. Rare drop. As those two have had some issues. Kelsey today, 5 catches.
Kelsey's got to catch this football. You got to stop the point of the football, and he crosses his hands over Look, he doesn't stop the point of the ball. It just goes right off his hands. Almost as if he tried to one-hand the ball. You see Alex Smith like, got to be kidding. We're working too hard here to give you the opportunity to get open and create a first down, because had he caught it, they would still have the football right now.
Kelsey tied for 6th in the league among tight ends in receptions, 4th in receiving yards. As this one will be fielded by Kansas City inside the 5. And it was Fleming who recovered the fumble a moment ago. Excellent coverage by him there.
Those are the balls they have to catch. That's why they have no return yards, but even worse field position.
Well, Javante Herndon fumbling a punt a moment ago, and that time a punt that he should have fielded. But instead it bounces, and look at where the Chargers are pinned.
Yeah, he really hurt his football team. He certainly has to field that punt, but you get the sense he was a little jittery after dropping or fumbling the previous.
3rd time today that the Chargers are starting to drive inside their 10. Gordon was barely able to get out of the end zone. Gordon today, 9 carries, just 19 yards. Seeing this offense continue to struggle. Coming up after the game, time permitting, we'll have the Subway postgame show from New York. JB and the guys standing by to get you all the latest scores and highlights around the NFL as Week 11 continues. It's all coming up on the Subway postgame show. The last time the Chargers lost 6 straight games was 2011. It's the first time they've been ever 2-7 in Philip Rivers' era. That was the year that they finished 4-12. They got the draft pick that they acquired Rivers with. They selected Eli Manning 1st overall. Seems like an eternity ago at this point.
Look at that. Just a really good play right there by Ron Parker. They're sitting on these short routes. They're trusting that the pressure is going to get to Philip Rivers, so he's got to get rid of it quickly.
Rivers on 3rd and 10. Chiefs coming. The pass is caught. Inman still going. Breaking free. Crosses the 25. And San Diego with some new life. 27 yards on the catch and run by Inman. Biggest play of the day for the Chargers.
And a touchdown-saving tackle by Eric Berry. Inman coming across the face. Look, 2 broken tackles. One last guy to beat. What a sure tackle by Eric Berry.
Danny Woodhead now flanking Rivers. This is 1st and 10. Rivers takes a shot near side of the field. Nearly a miraculous catch by Stevie Johnson with Sean Smith on the coverage, but a marker is thrown.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, number 21 defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Take a look. Okay, he's beyond 5 yards now. They're hand fighting. Whoa. Didn't see it there as the ball arrived. Maybe that arm bar is what they called. I don't know that that's enough. Maybe it was, or they were still coming off the line of scrimmage. It looked as if Sean Smith was still engaged beyond the 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Smith playing today was a question mark with a knee contusion that he sustained and caused him to miss the game in Denver last week. Rivers on 1st and 10. Throws across his body, finds Woodhead. First reception of the afternoon for Danny Woodhead, tackled by Derek Johnson. We go downstairs to Scott.
Spiro, you can see that the Chargers offensive line is shifting people. Hairston's now at left tackle in for King Dunlap, who's got an ankle. He's questionable. Wiggins is over at right tackle for Barksdale. No injury update quite yet on Barksdale.
All right, Scott, the revolving door for this offensive line continues. So hard to build continuity, Solomon, when you've got the injuries and the struggles that they've had up front. Woodhead with the first down.
I've always said the offensive line is the heartbeat of your football team. If you're solid there with continuity, some chemistry, and the guys have been able to play together for an extended period of time, you're going to have a good offense. You can be average at all those other positions, but you cannot be average on your offensive line.
Here comes Ali again. Nearly got to Rivers, applying the pressure. As Rivers and Gates still yet to hook up in this game.
And Ali is just giving them fits up front. He was able to hit Philip Rivers, force the errant pass. And I'm not used to seeing Philip Rivers collect this many completions, or incompletions, I should say, in a ball game. He's had Gates open sometimes as overthrown him. You can see 32 dropbacks, but he's been hurried, been knocked down, and sacked.
Kenny Wiggins, the man who Ali beat to nearly get to Rivers a moment ago. 2nd and 10. Chiefs coming. Free blitzer. It was Abdullah, and that forced Rivers to throw it a little bit earlier than he wanted. Pass intended for Herndon, and right now the Chiefs just teeing off.
Yeah, they are. And you can see it's going to be 39. Look, he'll just shoot the gap. He's coming right there, Hussein Abdullah. And they had the receiver open. And see, you can see, can't even get good placement in terms of throwing it out in front of the receiver, forced to throw it behind him. Ball falls to the ground for an incompleted pass.
3rd team drop by the Chargers in this game. Chargers having to play without their top 2 targets. We know about Keenan Allen, had lacerated spleen, and no Malcolm Floyd with the shoulder injury. 3rd and 10. Rivers' pass comes up well short. Intended for Dontrell Inman. And on 4th and long, the Chargers no choice but to punt.
Yeah, Desmond Moses, 54. Watch him come right in the face of Rivers right here as he tried to step up to complete that pass. So again, receiver open, but Rivers just doesn't have the time. He's not playing from a clean pocket at all today.
Mike Cyphers has had a busy afternoon. Jeremy Macklin standing back deep right around his own 10. Chargers offense with 174 yards of total offense to this point. A paltry number with just under 10 minutes left in the 4th.
Offense number 47. That 10-yard penalty will be added to the end of the play. Timeout.
Alex Smith looking to tack on some more as they're up 19-3. A look inside the Birch Aquarium at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in La Jolla. All part of UC San Diego, a short drive from where we are here at Qualcomm Stadium. Spiro Adidas, Solomon Wilcox, Scott Kaplan, 19-3 Chiefs. Here's Spencer Ware breaking free inside Chargers territory. Ware still going. Finally dragged down from the back. Jason Verrett among the defenders to get to him, but not before Ware gashes him for 52 yards.
These running backs they have a unique coach in Eric Bieniemy. The thing that he coaches the most is you got to have toughness, you got to have vision, you got to be able to hit the hole going downhill. Watch him stick his foot in the ground, watch him commit right there. Great vision, and this is just excellent right here as he gets going to the next level. And then from there, you look, he's going to weave his way, but the toughness to commit once you hit that line of scrimmage pays off every block. He was a tough runner in college football and in the National Football League, and coaches by those same traits.
Smith, quick slant to Macklin, the enemy, a former running back for the San Diego Chargers, a member of that 1994 AFC Championship team. He was singled out not only by his head coach yesterday in our meeting with Andy Reid, but also Charkandrick West. He said the first time he's ever played for a coach who played the position.
Yeah, and he coaches the same way he played, does Eric, with great intensity. He's coached some great ones. Adrian Peterson, obviously Maurice Jones-Drew, formerly of Jacksonville, and now coaching here in Kansas City. All of these running backs can play at a high level.
Charkandrick West, right hamstring tweak, so it looks like he may be done for the afternoon, but they have not skipped a beat with Spencer Ware. That catch by Albert Wilson as they pick up 7 to set up a 1st and goal.
I think coaching is one of the life's blood of the National Football League, to be able to take players and help them to develop. Andy Reid has done that for so many players. I think Alex Smith talked about it. They talked about it with Eric Bieniemy. They talked about being able to run through a wall for this coaching staff. That's how they were able to come back from that 5-game losing streak.
1st and goal. This is Ware. Yeah, we sat and spoke with a number of the Chiefs yesterday, and you asked Derek Johnson, their linebacker, about that point. 1-5, 5 straight losses. They'd lost Jamal Charles, and the first thing he said, Andy Reid, he brought us together and really rallied that group at that point of the season. Just a remarkable turnaround that they've had.
I don't think you can say enough about the coaches in this league who can make players better. And there are some players who are veterans. You know, Derek Johnson's been on this team a long time. There are some players think, okay, I've already got it. But when you have the kind of command and presence that Andy Reid has, you continue to listen even when you're a 10-year veteran.
Anthony Sherman is the lead blocker, trying to open up the hole for Ware, who inches close to the 5-yard line. And again, hard to believe how well this Chiefs team is positioned, considering they were at 1-5, considering they had lost 5 straight games. They started the game just a game out for that final AFC wildcard position. And a couple of the teams that were in front of them, the Jets, the Raiders, have lost today. Miami has lost, and the Bills have to play the Patriots tomorrow night.
Yeah, and Andy's just going to look. They continue to want to climb and get themselves in a position. I've always said that good coaches make average players good and good players great.
Chargers showing blitz with Ingram. Quick slant. It was intended for Avant, and penalty flags coming in from multiple directions. Brandon Flowers on the coverage. Was Melvin Ingram offsides, perhaps, for San Diego?
Yeah, they appear to have called Brandon Flowers for pass interference as well.
There are 2 fouls by the defense on the play. Offside, number 54, that penalty will be declined. Prior to the pass, holding, number 24, that penalty will be accepted, automatic, first down.
And that's why you accept it. You get the automatic first down with the holding call on Flowers. Right there in the slot, right there against Avant. You can see is right here, right there. And then so watch him reach out and grab right there at the top of the route. And that's what they called. Get your hands on him early, but not at the top of the route as he's trying to detach from coverage.
4th defensive holding penalty that's been called against the Chargers. Fresh set of downs, and they will bust it into the end zone for the Kansas City touchdown. It's Spencer Ware on in relief of Charcandrick West, and Kansas City pouring it on here in the 4th.
Ware is a second-year player out of LSU. He's 230 pounds. So when he throws his body up in there, he expects to get a positive gain. Look right there, even though he's hit by Manti Te'o, he still comes down on the other side of the goal line. And that's what his coach wants from him. Hey, you've got to commit to hitting that hole and do so violently. He wins the battle against Manti Te'o.
2nd rushing touchdown of the season for Spencer Ware. 2nd-year man out of LSU, who came over in free agency from Seattle in the offseason. Well, no Charcandrick West, no problem for this Chiefs offense. The 52-yard scamper from Ware to set the table for the touchdown. $20 unanswered points for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Spencer Ware, the hero of that drive, 52-yard run to get him inside Chargers territory, and he busts it in on the 3-yard touchdown run, his 2nd of the season. Javonte Herndon's going to play it from about 5 yards deep in his own end zone. Crosses the 10, and that's about it, as Herndon is brought down by DJ Alexander. Stay with us. Well, some of the prettiest coastline in the country here in San Diego, California. Temperatures over 90 degrees at kickoff. It has been all Chiefs. 20 straight points, up 26-3. And it has been physical, especially in the second half.
Yeah, even on special teams. That's going to be 57, DJ Alexander. Watch him take on Kyle Alexander. Hey, look at that. Just as Kyle Emmanuel, I should say, 51. He loses the physical battle. Got to be able to block on kickoff return.
Antonio Gates had his first reception of the afternoon a moment ago, and then Tamba Hali and Derek Johnson there to blow up Danny Woodhead in the backfield.
Just nowhere to run. This offensive line, they're taking it to him. Look at that. Derek Johnson shooting the gap. Tamba Hali getting penetration. Woodhead's forced to eat it. They're very disruptive up front for this Kansas City Chiefs defense. And Bob Sutton sometimes stop the run. You got to blitz your linebacker.
Hard to believe this Chiefs defense had given up 30-plus points in 3 consecutive games earlier this season. Rivers on 3rd and 6 completes to Stevie Johnson. Appears to be just short, but may have a favorable spot. Needed the 25 for the first down. There's Bob Sutton.
Well, they're just doing a really good job of communicating as a defense, playing with good leverage, good tackling. They have a great sense of how to execute the plan, and his score holds up. This would be the 6th consecutive game where Bob Sutton's defense has held their opponent to 18 points or less.
Favorable spot gives the Chargers a first down, and now Andy Reid is going to challenge the play. Well, from our vantage point, it appeared as though
Kansas
Johnson
City
was short.
is challenging the ruling on the field of a first down. We'll review the play.
It happened right in front of Andy. He was like, you guys mean to tell me you need me to help you out with that one? Phillip Rivers, he and Andy are having a conversation right now. Phillip Rivers
Andy
talking
Reid
to
kind of
Andy.
looking over, a little smirk on his face with a big lead. He's got those challenge flags, and why not use them?
Yeah, he likes Phillip Rivers. He says, you know, it seems like the more kids Phillip Rivers has, he gets better. He's got 8 kids, this Phillip Rivers. And Andy says, but I can say that because I have 5 of my own. There you see the tackle right there by Parker. Yeah, I wish I could say that was close, but it isn't. See right there? Yeah, that's not even close.
Well, they will need conclusive video evidence to overturn the call.
Seemed conclusive to me.
I would agree with you. Let's see what the officials decide here. Rivers trying to keep it light. All you can do is smile at this point. Just seems like a black cloud Solomon has been
After
hanging over
review,
this team
the
all
ruling on the
season.
field has been changed. The runner is a half yard short of the line to gain. It will be 4th down and a half yard to go. Kansas City will not be charged with a timeout.
Andy feels good about that, right?
So it'll be a 4th and 1. No reason not to go for it here with just 4 and change remaining. And San Diego down 23 points.
Mike McCoy said what to do. It's hard to call plays on offense when your offensive line is struggling to run block and protect the quarterback.
David Johnson, their tight end, is the lead blocker on the play, and I don't think Melvin Gordon got it.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
Needed the 25 for the first. He is short. Eric Berry was there for the Chiefs.
They got great penetration underneath. Look, Dontari Poe 92 submerges, and then you can see Berry coming off the corner. Is able to make the tackle. Watch 29 come right there through that B gap. See him right there? Getting his head in front. Excellent tackle. This is Eric Berry, I'm telling you. What a story.
Berry all the way back with an incredible recovery from Hodgkin's lymphoma, diagnosed towards the end of last season. And we told you about Andy Reid, how high he was, said that game that he played last week, the best game that he's played. And Andy said, I judge him by how much hair he has. Obviously lost his hair after the chemotherapy. And all that hair is back. Look at Ware taking on tacklers. They had the long touchdown run earlier as we go to New York and an update with JB.
Rodgers getting it done. Yeah, right here he's going to get outside the pocket. He's going to hit his man James Jones for a 7th touchdown of the season. He would get the 2-point conversion just to play later and convert it. Green Bay 27, Minnesota 13.
Looking to snap that 3-game skid. Let's take it back to Spiro and Solomon.
Well, Minnesota is certainly one of the surprise teams with how well they've played in the NFC North. And Green Bay suddenly dealing with some questions with that offense. Look at Spencer Ware's numbers. 92 yards on 9 carries. This is his 10th. Came on in relief of Charkandrick West, if you've just joined us. West, who has been a revelation for them over the last 4 weeks, left the game with a hamstring tweak. And it has been all Spencer Ware from that point.
Now watch Alex Smith. He will just allow that 40-second clock to get down to maybe 2 or 3 seconds before he snaps the ball. He's bleeding as much time off the clock as he possibly can.
Andy Reid and the Chiefs closing in on their 4th consecutive win. And we'll get them to 500 at 5-5. Here's Ware on 2nd and goal, trying to find the edge. Falls into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown of the quarter.
What energy. He gave his team a spark. Sharkandrick West left the game with a hamstring injury, and Ware's, he's playing really well. Had that 52-yard run on the previous possession, and now he comes up with his 2nd rushing touchdown of the game. Gets big around the goal line at 230 pounds.
Ware, who was on the practice squad for the Chiefs for the first 5 weeks of the season. And was his knee down before he broke the plane of the end zone. There you can see his right knee down before the football got there. And took a quick peek at it upstairs. Apparently upheld the touchdown. So Ware with his 2nd. And Cairo Santos continues to be perfect with the extra points. Well, the holiday tradition carries on as Cam Newton and the Panthers meet Tony Romo and the Cowboys in Dallas. The festivities begin with your Super Bowl 50 team, JB, Tony, Bart, Coach, and Boomer on a special holiday edition of the NFL Today. Well, how did Cam Newton and Tony Romo do today? Romo making his long-anticipated return. Look at the Panthers, unbelievable as they continue to steamroll through the competition.
Cam Newton, 5 touchdown passes today. We know what he can do with his legs, but as he continues to mature as a passer, no telling how good he can be.
And with those 5 touchdowns, Cam Newton tying our colleague and good buddy Steve Berline for a franchise record. What a season Newton has had, right in the MVP conversation. 27 unanswered points for the Kansas City Chiefs. We know it's been a struggle, Solomon. No one anticipated this kind of blowout. Certainly not with the emotion expected from LaDainian Tomlinson's jersey ceremony at halftime.
Well, they've had so many miscues in this game. Hard to win when they're a quarterback. One of the best in the game is overthrowing his intended receiver, Antonio Gates. And then he has receivers who are dropping the ball when they do get open. And then poor special teams play. The inability to field punts. And then the quarterback's been hit, hurried, and harassed so much, he feels pressure when it's not even there and throws an interception to Justin Houston. Have it returned for a touchdown. So they found a number of ways to have so many miscues. Really, it makes it tough to come out and win, even when you're playing at home.
So it looks like a timeout is taken by the Chiefs. Eric Berry was turning, trying to get the attention of the officials. Mike McCoy, year 3 here with Tom Telesco. So many questions that this franchise has to have answered. He will go to now 20-22 since taking over here. San Francisco native. The long season will continue for he and the Chargers. First and 10. That is Gordon brought down. Again, the Chiefs right in the thick of things. We know some of the teams in front of them losing today. Bills have to play the Patriots tomorrow. And they have the easiest remaining strength of schedule, Solomon, the rest of the way.
Yeah, and for me, that really doesn't mean a whole lot because all these games are tough, as you well know, in the NFL. Teams that you don't think are going to be good maybe the final month of the season, they're playing tough. But you have to just keep winning no matter what team they put out in front of you. And Kansas City Chiefs have improved in a lot of areas.
plenty of Chiefs fans here in San Diego basking in the glow of what will be Kansas City's 4th consecutive victory. Final 2 minutes, 4th quarter, and this one cannot end soon enough for the Chargers. Melvin Gordon able to find the edge, run out of bounds close to the 30 by Marcus Cooper. Coming up tonight on CBS, it all begins with 60 Minutes, and American law enforcement plans to protect the homeland. That'll be followed by new episodes of Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, and CSI Cyber, only CBS. Gordon's numbers now on the afternoon: 11 carries, only 18 yards. As a struggle of a rookie season continues for him. We mentioned the rest of the road for the Chiefs in terms of opponent win-loss record. Easiest strength of schedule from this point on in the NFL. They'll take on the Bills. The Bills team that'll be playing on short rest next week.
See, for me, where are the easy wins? And I know we look at the record: San Diego, Cleveland, you know, but every week in the National Football League, it's tough regardless of those teams' records. I know Andy Reid's going to tell his team that, because you've got to fight, scratch, and claw to win every single week in this league.
On 2nd and 9, this is Gordon right up the gut. And we got a report at halftime that Joe Flacco had sustained a devastating knee injury. Nothing official that we can confirm. Obviously been busy here with our game. But you talk about another franchise and a team that's been snake bit this season, the Baltimore Ravens.
The Ravens have more players on injured reserve than any other team in the NFL. Andy Reid's team will play Baltimore later in the season, and the Ravens will have to play this Chiefs team without Joe Flacco.
And Joe Flacco did, in fact, tear his ACL. Just incredibly bad luck for the Ravens, who, by the way, also lost Justin Forsett earlier in that game to a broken hand. Solomon, as one-sided a game, I think, as anyone could have expected entering this one.
Yeah, but, you know, Andy Reid, he has his team playing well. He and his coaching staff did a wonderful job of preparing their team to play. And, you know, with the injuries on that offensive line in front of Phillip Rivers, just render their offense to be very much inept. They couldn't run it, nor could they protect their quarterback.
The Kansas City Chiefs resurgent, 4 straight wins, and right in the thick of things in the race for that final AFC wildcard spot. Final score: Kansas City 33 and the Chargers 3. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes, and American law enforcement plans to protect the homeland, followed by Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, and CSI Cyber. Now for Solomon, Scott, our entire crew, Spiro Dedes saying so long from San Diego. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.